Hey everyone, this is Manly Badass Hero, and welcome back to The Letter. Previously, we started Marianne's route, where we had some very awkward scenes with our old friend, Luke. Though I'm able to keep myself professional at all times, does not mean I like it. And seeing that most of the day has already gone before I realized it, I chose to head back to my flat instead. Despite today being a Saturday. No fun, but at least this way, I can definitely avoid another unpleasant encounter. Considering how much I'll be seeing whiskey in the near foreseeable future, I have a feeling I'll need all the rest the weekend can give me. For the first time in a long while, excited as I am to work in the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. Monday couldn't come any sooner. After taking the floor plans from Miss Santos the day before the last, I spent most of my Sunday drawing up plans and calling in my suppliers. Let's see, 24th we are on? Oh boy, Isabella. Although no design choices have been made yet, I'm quite sure that they'd want high-end appliances, the most expensive materials, the most pretentious everything. They usually did, these rich types, based from experience at least. Given how badly this whole thing started, it wouldn't hurt to be prepared. I have to check myself. Make sure I'm not playing with my gloves as one of the other building tenants take the elevator up with me. It makes me self-conscious when a woman's eyes go over me, and I'm sure she was going to point out some perceived flaw in my physical appearance. But I'm saved from being paranoid when they went off a few floors later. Still, the ride up to my floor is nerve-wracking. The rides live at the very top, the penthouse, the creme de la creme when it comes to condominium or urban living. Just getting access to the place is an ordeal of its own. I had to jump so many hoops, so many security checks, just to secure a key card. Not only because of the building management, but because of the right's personal security. I sometimes felt like I'm being interrogated for a crime, and not visiting a client at their home. Even when their personal assistant called in to help out and verify my presence, the process is aggravated rather than hastened. Speaking of the devil... Hello, Ninja Butler. The elevator door opens and I'm greeted by none other than Whiskey's not-so-little lackey.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting, but I'm here now and I'm ready, so if I may, where are they?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon. I'm surprised to see you made it through security, and only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
He shows me to the couch before drifting off towards the kitchen, quietly pulling out a teapot, cups, and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. I ignore the animosity towards his employer that his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whiskey's own people don't like him. Accepting the quiet and isolation instead, I brace myself for what's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes, or even 10. I sit in the living room, just waiting. When the kettle starts whistling and the tea has been served, I continue to wait. At least the silence is relaxing. But then, there's a crash. I nearly spill tea all over my lap in surprise, and I look up expecting security to come running. Even the man at the kitchen counter continues to fix breakfast like he has heard nothing. Luke's just getting out of bed, that's how he always gets out. Hating himself on the floor. I don't want to speak up about it because it looks far too short in cooking, and I don't want to be the cause of burnt food or worse. However, there's something in me that just wants to figure out what that was, although I am normally not this nosy. Which I do then. I should save the game. Oh, let's go for it. Let's see what happens. The crash came from the hallway, and I really shouldn't be snooping about. But it's just concern. Yeah, concern that urges me to check it out. Sneaking a glance at the butler, I consider sneaking off, but...
Excuse me, but where's the loo?
He barely looks my way before putting a spatula towards the hallway. It's a good excuse as any. And if I'm caught lingering longer than I should, I could just excuse myself and say that I wasn't sure which toilet to wear. That's kind of spooky. Still, looking into the hallway reveals nothing, and I don't see anything that might have caused a crash. The hallway, like the rest of the place, is in pristine condition. There are several doors for not only the toilet, but also presumably rooms for their butler and for other members of the staff, who we never see. As I stand there, however, something feels definitely out of place. One of the doors, nearest within my reach, stands ajar, and from inside a light flickers incessantly. It could simply be a light bulb that needs replacing, but the thought of it in place so well taken care of seems odd. Off. I think that maybe this is where the crash came from. Inside I can spy a radio lying on the floor. That's probably it, right? Maybe one of the help, in a hurry to get out of the room, knocked over it in the process. If that's all it is, I should really leave it alone. As I turn to leave, the sound of static fills the air and a man's tiny voice interrupts the silence.
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead.
Why am I still standing here?
Assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
This seems familiar, doesn't it?
Authorities are investigating the possibility of foul play.
Isabella? Like I've heard it before.
Reporting from St. Samthins, Shane McLaughlin of Galway Bay, AM.
What? What? I recoil, backing away from whatever that was. In the process, I trip backwards on my feet, and I wait for the pain of falling flat on my back. But instead, I feel a hand on my back and see the smug smile of, well, guess who?
Oh, don't tell me you're reporting to work drunk, Mint.
Of course, I know exactly who that voice belongs to. It just has to be him.
Marianne McCullough, hammered on the job? That would be something.
But
Wouldn't dream of it, Whiskey. You're allowed to be if you wanted, though it's a bit early for it. So thanks for the save.
really, it is much appreciated. Even though the circumstances during our first meeting were not savory or wholesome, I can't bring myself to completely look at Mr. Wright in a bad light. Ha! Ha! Nothing came out of it, after all.
It's no trouble at all. I've been told I have a gift for catching pretty ladies, being a great catch myself.
Is that so? Would you say you'll be able to catch if another man were to pitch?
Perhaps, but I wouldn't know. I don't play baseball, Mint.
Right. Right. Of course you don't.
I can't help but chuckle at my little joke, but it looks like it completely went over his head. If he had understood it, I guess it would have been inappropriate. He is my client after all. Speaking of which... Save point. Straightening my jacket, I clear my throat and look at him dead in the eye. He isn't Whiskey anymore. He's just another client that I have to cater to. Certainly, I can reason with him. He might not be such a bad guy. Ha! As he didn't push when I told him no. Maybe that night had been slip on his part. I have to at least make it clear that I'm here strictly on business, and that nothing is to happen between us because of that night.
It'll be Miss McCulloch to you from now on, though. It'd be best if we keep things professional, Mr. Wright. I have an image to uphold, and I presume that the same goes for you. It won't do to have any untoward rumors about the two of us about a night that didn't even happen, no?
I'd like to keep calling you Mint, actually. If we're to convince everyone that nothing happened...
Luke really seems to like it if you actually are professional.
Nothing happened.
That'd be much, much more convincing.
Fine, but I'm only here as your interior designer, nothing else.
The dead air between us, because it can't be anything else but that, is broken as a lively voice comes out from the loft.
Marianne! I hope I haven't kept you waiting too long.
Oh no, just saw a ghost girl in your closet and, dealing with, Luke here.
I know we agreed we'd start at 10 o'clock, but mornings just simply do not agree with me. Not one bit. It's been like this since I've been in university.
It's 5 minutes to 11 o'clock. These high-end clients sure like to be fashionably late. I'm used to it, though. Much like I'm used to so many years of hearing people mispronounce my name. Pakala. Besides, berating or correcting my client would be extremely impolite, and Marianne doesn't sound too bad when she says it. To be fair, it doesn't seem like she's late on purpose.
I see you're up, darling. You know, you could have woken me up as well. Were you showing Marianne around? Not that there's much to see. This place is so tiny compared to the mansion.
I'm more worried about the way she stares at me. Judging. Such a look. It doesn't suit her pretty face at all. Just seeing Miss Wright reminds me too much of her. And maybe I'm starting to hear her again. See her again. When I shouldn't. I should have left it all behind. Forgotten it. To think she would be looking at me that way. I can just feel my hands tremble.
Oh yes, just showing her around and getting to know each other. Isn't that right, Marianne?
I mean, mint.
Yes, of course. And your butler was making breakfast a while ago. So if you want to get right to that...
Breakfast would be lovely.
There's no denying the clients when they invite me over to the table. Though it's too personal to share a meal in their home, it'd be terribly rude to deny their invitation, plus their food's probably baller. Damn, look at those pancakes. And that reduction over there on the right. Besides, the pancakes did look and smell heavenly. A bowl of clotted cream, fruits, syrups, jams, and other spreads are laid out next to them, making for a colorful arrangement. If this was a brunch of friends, I would have gladly helped myself to the whole lot. But as it is, I accepted just a few pieces of pancakes, you monster, and topped it off with lemon and sugar.
You know, I was a tiny bit serious when I said I wanted a helipad.
You know, the helipad horse vineyard.
And you're not serious about the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables.
Oh, we're also a greenhouse, so it'd be called what? A greenyard stable? Pad?
Well, I do want those too, but I know you'll agree to those.
Where we dock our flying horses?
We're talking about interiors here, honey. You don't handle exterior designs and whatever handles those sorts of projects do you, Marianne?
I'm able, actually, and willing to take a project of that nature. I was an architect in Ireland before. Of course, that's another contract entirely.
With more money.
I also suggest we finish the house itself before working on any additions to the rest of the property. There won't be any problems about ownership this time, will there? Pardon if I'm crossing a line, but the acquisition was rather quick.
Oh, don't you worry. We've got everything sorted this time around. I've talked to Miss Cooper and Mr. John from BRC, as well as the old owners. Everything has been paid in full, and all we're waiting for is the paperwork from the land registry. They're letting us move in as soon as we please.
Considering the old owners are still alive, did they just never visit it? They just bought the deed and we're done with it?
It's not like they were living there in the first place.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. The problems that could arise from renovating another person's home would be... well, let's not dwell on it.
Yes, it'd be terrible problems like bad walls, or maybe some leaky faucets. You know, terrible problems. Compared to what we have now. Just death.
First off, we'll want to know how you want the place to look. It's pretty furnished as is, but I understand if you want to modernize the whole thing.
Actually, I'd prefer to keep the place looking as it is, but at the same time, I want modern appliances.
Ah, the traditional rich person route. Nice choice.
You worked on the Ludgate's Christchurch summer residence. I do remember there being an oven I thought was a simple drawer before. Make them look vintage, antique, blend in with the rest of the decor.
Customize appliances then. I can't find someone for that, and if you can't tell me what you specifically want, it'll hasten up the process. We're talking about electronic appliance manufacturers. If you have a preferred brand to work with.
Splendid! So, what is next on our agenda? All the other interior designers we've hired in the past did not have us this involved.
I like this is kind of separate from the game, but I kind of like how in interior design and whatnot, classical styles and everything are timeless. People always want that. You have postmodern styles and everything, you have other styles, but people always like classic styles. It's universal. But they don't like classic 1900s style. You don't see many people going for the 80s of the 80s as much anymore. Mirrors everywhere. Gotta get the carpets everywhere too, man. I stop. I mean, there is 80s themed homes, but they generally go for the more radical thing, not the 80s nuclear family suburban look, if you know what I'm saying. What sort of half-baked designer did that? If I knew who they were, I would have words. This isn't time or the place for it, however. Instead, I use this brief pause to pull out the floor plans I brought with me.
We'll have to figure out what you want to do with the rooms. Here, we can have a quick run through.
What is that little room next to the master's bedroom?
Oh, that's, You know, it's just a weird place.
Oh, as far as I could tell when I saw it, it's a second bedroom of sorts.
It's a mistress's bedroom.
Used, apparently, for the ladies-in-waiting who has served Lady Charlotte Ermengarde. Which is strange, as that isn't the norm for these sorts of houses.
Well, we're not stuffing Johans in there. He won't fit. You don't suppose we could turn it into a walk-in closet and a dressing room?
I love fashion. But do we really need to turn an entire room into a walk-in closet, dear? We'll have large closets and a wardrobe in the bedroom already.
If you actually have been in some ancient, not ancient really, but old mansion homes, and you look at the kind of floor plans and the room layouts, like the museum ones, sometimes you'll actually find like a little quirky extra room like that.
Says the one who takes 3/5 of our closet.
Like a very kind of romantically laid out guest room, and whenever I see it, I know like the tour guide's not gonna mention it, but I always think that's the mistress's room. Like that's, you know what that's for.
Well, what do you suggest we do with it?
That room was designed for the owner to slip away easily from his wife.
I thought a utility room of some sort would be nice. A craft room where I can do fun things. Or maybe a children's room might be nice. You know, for when Kylie comes over. Or if Rochelle visits once she's had a baby.
Oh, that Rochelle.
1, you are not inviting that witch. And 2, there's a whole mansion for Kylie to play in. We don't need a children's room, and you don't even do arts and crafts.
Oh, okay, so you have the vineyard helicopter pad.
I'd like to turn the guest's room and the study into my personal office, by the way, if you don't mind.
You can turn it into a personal office if I can have my utility room. It's just the one room of the many. I'm taking that room for myself, no matter what you say, dearie. So you might as well take this deal. You're always out doing business anyway. The real problem is the theater. Whatever are we going to do with all that space?
Put in a personal feeder.
Fine, we could turn it into our own personal cinema, I suppose. Might as well have it, if you plan on not having a telly in the parlor.
Wow, I was right.
Yes, well, I don't want guests to be glued to the telly when they come over for a meal and some tea.
I actually kind of like your thinking on this.
By the looks of things, we can keep the rooms as what they are on the ground floor, though. The ballroom would be perfect for parties.
Do we really need a dining hall, though? I don't suppose we can't convert it into a garage.
What for? You can park your cars outside.
Ha ha ha.
What about that room? Right there, in the northeast corner.
That's sleeping quarters for the household help?
Oh, that is perfect! Johans will be glad if we have other staff members who stayed in.
Parking collector cars outside permanently. Crazy. Might as well convert the greenhouse plan.
It'd be convenient so they don't have to make the trip from Luxbourne to the mansion when they're needed.
You'll definitely need a lot more people to maintain a property of this size.
The mansion is really a lot bigger than I thought. Look at all these rooms. I didn't even know there was a music room next to the parlor because of what happened.
There was a grand piano in there too, when we checked during the tour.
Did you hear that, Luke? Maybe you can take up playing the piano again. Oh, you should have seen him when we were younger, Marianne.
It's not like I was very good with the thing.
Oh, hush you. You were no Mozart, but I loved hearing you play nonetheless. He'd come over to my home and he'd play such fun tunes. He'd sing too and I'd dance and it was just...
Mr. Wright playing the piano. I can't imagine it. But the earnest way in which Miss Rice said so told otherwise.
Anyway, what do you think of these plans, Marianne?
Are we not even going to consider one of my requests? Not even just a closet or just a garage? Now, that isn't fair, is it? You're not the only one who's going to be living here.
Just build an external garage and call it a day.
I hardly see how that's unfair. I told you you're getting your office and your theater, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables. That sounds fair, does it not, Marianne?
Ooh-wee, you pushing me into this? They're damn rich folks. It's not my position. That drops Luke, raises Hannah. And that drops Hannah and raises Luke. There's no winning here. Who do I... You know, oddly enough, I do agree with Luke on this about the compromise thing. That is the Luke option. 'Cause I'm kind of too professional for this stuff. Like, why are you doing this to me? I really wish they didn't look at me like that. This is their decision to make. If they want to ask her a professional's point of view, I'll be happy to give my 2 cents.
You can still have a garage.
See? Marianne agrees with me. Thank you.
But the structural integrity of the mansion might be at risk if we try to turn the dining hall or any of the rooms into a garage. Taking down one of the exterior walls might hit one of the support beams.
It also kind of compromises the original historical portions of it, lowering the value in the long run.
And with a mansion that old, I'd rather not risk it, especially without closer inspection. There's always compromise, of course.
I suppose that's better than nothing. Better than flat out saying no.
Mrs. Wright does have a point. There's plenty of space for a garage outside of the mansion itself.
Yeah, just make it an external garage. Put 20 cars in there.
If you'd like a covered parking
Along with
space,
your-
we can
your
arrange something on the
vineyard
grounds
copters.
instead.
Then we better go there. I want to see where we can build a garage.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not like I have much of a choice, do I? Riding to the Ermengarde mansion in their rice is an awkward affair. Not only am I worried about scuffing the expensive liver seats, I'm also worried about getting in the middle of another couple spat. A Royce? With a tension thick in the air, I can feel them starting on each other any time. Nobody's saying anything. Up until Mr. Wright tells his valet to turn the damn radio off. Turn the damn radio off! And for a moment, I think that he might start. But instead, he just stays quiet, and so do the rest of us. In the end, the sufferable silence stays. I've never been so glad to see a house. Stepping out of the car and up to the mansion meant the end of an uncomfortable ride, and I can finally take a deep breath of fresh air. The beauty of the place never fails to make me gaze and wonder every time I see it as well. Miss Wright moves towards the front door, keys in hand, and I can already hear Mr. Wright plotting.
Alright, dear
Yes.
Hans, we're going to go in, but I want you to look around the place. Familiarize yourself with it. Know every nook and cranny, every inch of the lot. Go and see where we can put that vineyard and the other things we talked about. We'll want to know where to station security as well, so go around the perimeter and figure it out.
Scout the property and circle the perimeter on foot.
Yes, go.
You do know this is 46 acres of land, sir.
I will simply throw money at you, and it will get done.
Well, you are not driving a car over the grass. Put those long, spidery legs of yours to good use. I didn't hire you to stand around and look intimidating. Go, mush.
Someday I'd like to ask how Johannes can even stand to tolerate the man. Why doesn't he just quit? Certainly the pay can't be that good. Even I'm a bit put off by our mutual employer, and the only thing that keeps me from bailing is the fact that we've already signed a contract and the money. At least I'll only be working with them during the duration of the project. He works with them every day.
Sometimes I think you hired me to make me suffer for your amusement.
Probably. Someday I'd ask. I feel a bit bad for him. If it's any consolation, he'll be away from Mr. Wright, if only for a little while. We're able to enter the mansion after a bit of standing out there in the sun. This wretched, strange sunlight that's far too alien and rare. There's a bit of a problem with Mrs. not knowing which key was which. The first item on the agenda would be the grand staircase. It seems sturdy during the open house, but a closer inspection might say otherwise. There are no obvious marks of damage nor wear and tear, probably refretted during renovations. Peeking under the grand carpet, the wood is properly installed with the bark placed down to prevent cupping. The carpet itself could use a vacuum, though. Structural conditions, from what I can see without actually dismantling a thing, look to be in good shape, and the handrails and support posts are firm. Like doing house hunters now. The work on it should be commended. I can't look much more into the rest of the foyer, however, because Mr. Wright starts to hurry us into checking the dining hall.
So, what do you think? Certainly we can't turn this area into a garage.
It's Jacobean architecture. I'd say these would be pilasters and not buttresses, but you never really know. They really liked mixing up these elements. You could say it was pretty avant-garde at the time. We might hit a support beam if we're not careful.
And in layman's terms?
From what I see here, we could risk great damage to the house if we try to turn the dining hall into a garage.
The man didn't look too pleased at this. There's a look of disappointment before he sighs and looks around the place with an air of defeat. When he moves to speak, I turn another unreasonable demand. Again.
This will stay a dining hall then. But if I may have another request instead.
We want to put in a moonwalk pad. The world's biggest one attached to the house. Also known as a bouncy pit. Or a space jump.
At least spruce the place up with some flowers, some plants or something. It feels so old and dead in here.
I wonder why.
That's hardly unreasonable. Daffodils are a must, I presume.
The look that passes between the two of them. There was a genuine look of fondness there. This is the first time I've seen such exchange between the two of them. If anyone were to see them like this, there's little doubt that they loved each other.
Of course, and I want a garden full of them. Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to look at the rest of the house. I'll just be around here downstairs, if anybody needs me.
That leaves Mrs. Wright and I.
He's quite fond of them, you know.
I can imagine. He looked terribly upset when we told him he can't have his garage.
I meant the daffodils. We always have a vase full of them in every house we own. Somewhere, I'd like to think. They may be about his mother. He never talks about her. I don't even know her name. He likes to flatter, claim that they remind him of me, but he's always loved the flowers, even before we married.
Much like the piano, I didn't take him for a person who liked flowers. Daffodils, least of all. What's next? Am I going to find that Mr. Wright saves kittens from burning buildings? He probably does, to be honest.
I'll go and snoop about upstairs. You go and do whatever it is that you have to do.
He's right up that brags about it too. I just saved 20 kittens from a fire. What did you do? Nothing? That's right. I'm better than you. Have some pity, Minnie. When she goes without even asking if I need her here, I'm left standing here to stare at the walls. Really, I don't need to do a thorough inspection of the building itself. It isn't really part of an interior designer's job. But the architect in me is committed to doing this task of every project. If I want to make a living space that have both form and function, I might as well make sure that the entirety is safe for my clients. Since I'm already here, I run around the dining hall to check things off my punch list, if you will. But when it's time to move on, I hesitate. Mr. Wright said he would be somewhere around here on the ground floor, and I really didn't want to be alone with Whiskey. Whiskey River? I have to look for the place eventually, sure, but on the other hand, I could do it later when he's gone. I can go upstairs first, if I want to. Which floor should I go first? I've already seen enough of this floor during the open house. Of course, I know that's just a convenient excuse. I just don't want to be in the same room as Whiskey anytime soon. So, I might as well just go upstairs first. The banisters and the grand staircase's landing are solid and at proper height. Any lower and they would be trouble. There's a small catch on the carpet though, but as long as nobody tries to run down the stairs until I get fixed, things should be alright. And the stained glass? Art. Restored, no doubt, in the image of the last lady in the Lord Ermengarde. Or it was supposed to be until Lady Charlotte's fiancé was brutally murdered. By a witch of all things, from what I've read. You'd think the historians of this place would be a lot more scrutinizing, filtering out stuff like that. Probably the servant. I mean, we say bothered with it, instead of replacing it with some generic cookie-cutter design. This entire place alone would have cost roughly 500, even £1 million. Lady Charlotte Ermengarde and her beloved. Looking at the mosaic, it's not too far a stretch of the imagination to believe that the depicted images could be Mr. and Mrs. Wright. Foreshadowing. It can be easily assumed as such if one doesn't know the history of the mansion. Really, a place like this should be protected by the government as a landmark. What can I do about it? Imagine this was like a public museum. Imagine that ghost death count after that. Oh my god. Walking into the east wing, I try to go into the feeder but is met with an obstacle. The obstacle that has locked doors. 2 doors, and both of them are locked. I'd be frustrated, Would be if I hadn't already snuck off while the Wrights were having their little business meeting with Miss Cooper before to take a peek. With what Mr. Wright wanted, we'd have to install a powerful projector, a type they use in cinemas, and a projection screen. The seats would have to be reupholstered, and if they're to be anything comfortable, then the walls would have to be covered in dark material. Paint, wallpaper, or install wall-to-wall carpeting. Really, of all the rooms I could be jealous of, it's this one. I could just picture myself in there, watching old kung fu flicks on the weekend, long marathon. Makes me wonder what kind of movies Miss Wright would like. Rom-coms, perhaps. Her husband, on the other hand, I'd rather not think about. In all my notation and planning, I don't even realize I'm not alone. I'm caught standing in front of a locked door like a fool.
Were you meaning to go in there? I'm afraid we won't be able to open it up today.
Oh well, I wanted to, but it's fine. I can still survey the rest of the place.
Apologies, but the key was missing when they were handed over. They told us that they'd get right back to us with it.
What? But aren't they supposed to hand over all the keys once property changes hands? That can be grounds to file a complaint.
Oh, they handle all the keys, except for the haunted ones. Those come in later when you most need them. Or when you most don't need them, rather. Actually, I don't know when they arrive. They just kind of conveniently appear for plot points.
They were already kind enough to let us move in so early. There's no need to raise a fuss about it. Worst comes to worst, we can call for a locksmith.
The air is heavy and somber when she grows quiet and glances out the window. Out towards the vast expanse that surround what would be their house. Their home. Then she looks back at me with a sigh and a bitter smile.
Flowers. Yellow flowers. Daffodils, dandelions, and sunflowers and the sort all up front. Just a whole garden of them. They'll make the house look lovely, won't they?
Of course. A garden is a wonderful addition to any home.
It also accents the bleeding walls that will occur later on. As I say this, her eyes roam over me, scrutinizing and thoughtful. I have to hold back the shiver that threatens to run down my spine at being inspected so closely.
Yes, it must be nice.
We're still talking about the gardens, yes?
Figuratively.
I mean, not having to worry about what another person thinks of you.
What do you mean by that?
She lifts her hand and points to her wedding ring before it falls listlessly to her side.
Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I didn't marry Luke.
Your life would be better.
There'll be no fights about walk-in closets or silly helipads. I could do with this place as my heart desires until there's nothing but content. Then again, I wouldn't have bought this place if it wasn't a gift for him. I probably wouldn't even be in Luxbourne if it wasn't for him.
You probably wouldn't have just compromised, you know, and maybe waited for a mate that's not an alcoholic.
Maybe I would have moved to London, Manchester, or Birmingham. I might have even left the country altogether. France, Germany, Spain, Canada, Sweden, even America.
Even America!
Possibilities would have been endless.
Wow, no one goes there. I don't know what to say to that. What is there to say?
I'm sorry, I must sound so petty and ungrateful. I do love him. So very much, even if he can be a bit difficult at times.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just confused why you're telling me this, of all people.
Just a whim, I think. Just flights of fancy, that's all. Don't you ever think about one decision you've made in your life and wonder how much would change if you chose to do things differently?
Yes. No. Conflicted.
I try not to dwell on the past, ma'am.
I had no regrets. This was the only path. My whole life was on how that blade works. The keyword is try, of course. Thinking of the past brings up too many ghosts. Memories of her. Well, we always bring up memories of her, don't we? And I do wonder what would change if I just said yes when she asked for me. Maybe she'd still be with me. Or to the present, and like I said, I try to dwell on the past. And I try to hit to my save button.
You must have been quite the pair, Mrs. Wright.
I think it went up.
Hannah Evans and Luke Wright taking Luxbourne by storm. At least, that's what I've heard.
That gets a giggle out of her. You having a giggle, mate? And can I be blamed if like the way her eyes crinkled, or how she sounded when she laughed?
Quite the celebrity couple, according to all the newspapers. But it wasn't always that way. Father certainly didn't approve of him at first. Why, he told me to stay away from him. Told me that I was too good for him.
That's technically true.
That's the usual overprotective dad speak, though. But of course you know that.
No, your dad was smart. I don't. I was too busy keeping my grades up at boarding school and maintained my scholarship. Never mind the fact that I went to an all-girls boarding school, so father never had any reason to fuss over boys trying to date his little girl.
And what did you tell him? Considering you are Mrs. Wright now, you or the mister must have convinced him otherwise.
You probably said I was making the right choice.
Yes, well, I told him I was my own woman and I could decide who was deserving of me or not on my own. Thank you very much.
Actually, let's reframe that. You probably told him, look here, I'm making the right choice, Dad.
That never stopped him from making sure Luke couldn't get anywhere near me without an escort and a guard anyway.
And then her dad pretty much started to hate the world after that pun.
Though he certainly wasn't that overprotective when I was dating Jack.
Things just don't taste the same anymore.
Maybe your father considered this Jack a more capable man?
Everything is garbage now.
I doubt it. Jacqueline was nowhere close to being any sort of a role model when we were in college. She was rebellious, reckless, and immature. Everything I wasn't. But she was quite the charming, stunning woman, and I think that made her quite likable.
That takes me by surprise a lot more than by the fact that Mr. Wright's father-in-law didn't like him. That much was to be expected. But this? I have nothing against them because that's their thing, though the nuns and the priests would say otherwise. Although, wasn't she worried about the implications? The rumors that would have arisen about her dating another of the same sex. Especially with someone of her social status.
You look surprised, Marianne. The first thing anybody needs to know about me is that I go after what I want.
Oh, you're not too much different from the ghost, are you?
And when it comes to who I love, it doesn't matter to me whether they're a man or a woman.
It's a nice enough sentiment. Still, the thought that this lovely lady before me had once been with another woman. I could feel my cheeks heat up a bit and I panic, thinking they might be red enough for Miss Wright to notice. I can't tell, though a coy smile graces her lips.
Legs, we called her, because of how often she was running about because of one thing or another. Climbing up walls and, what do they call it now? Parkour.
Oh my god.
And also because of her, well, legs.
Them legs.
And you went after her?
Not right away. When I first met her, I wanted nothing to do with her. She was so improper and uncouth. But I slowly realized that didn't mean she was a bad person. On the contrary, she did many a good thing and was always so nice to others. I found myself confused. I couldn't figure out if I wanted to be her or wanted to be with her. So I approached her, told her that I might have fancied her.
And your father didn't mind?
He must have thought it was my form of rebellion. But he never watched out for Jack as much as he watched out for Luke. If I didn't love my father so much, if he hadn't raised me right, I think I might have told him to bugger off. He's never been more attentive of me than when I started bringing home dates.
I'm sure he loved you very much.
Whenever this VN starts devolving way too far into the slice of life stuff, I always just hope the ghost comes out and just starts slaughtering everybody. I usually want everyone to live, and I have nothing against the characters, I actually kind of like them. I just wish some blood started being spilled. I get a little bit of Star Wars Episode 1 syndrome when they start doing the political talk. I know, she says with a small smile.
I suppose I've taken too much of your time with my silly stories. You still have much to inspect.
After a while, you want to stop seeing Jedi do politics, and you want to see someone bring out the lightsaber and a hand go flying. I'm just saying.
I still have most of this floor, and I'll want a quick run-through of the ground floor again later.
I shan't keep you from your work any longer then. Just call me if you need anything. I'd like to look around myself.
When she turns to leave, she glances back at me before disappearing into the foyer. I look out the window from where she was standing, and I move on, alone with nothing but my thoughts and her.
Finally, some peace and quiet. Thought the old biddy would never leave.
Inner voice in my head. It's utter madness, this hearing things. I reckon it's a stress, though I don't know what exactly I'm stressed about. If meeting Miss Wright has really thrown me for a loop, I'd be worried. If I'm developing some sort of psychosis or disorder, well, I'd call a doctor. But hopefully it isn't that. Not right here and not right now. I mean, it could just be that personal talking cricket. Personal talking cricket? Jiminy crickets? The conscious, so to speak. And I'm only noticing now. Though if it isn't very helpful. Push the dilemma of voices in my head aside, I go back to work. But I can barely make it a few steps before everything tilts and shifts. I don't really stumble, but it feels like I'm being thrown off my feet, and the rest of the world just follows. Yeah, get to the coast. Though my feet stay firmly on the ground, even if I stay mostly upright, I feel like I've been heaved and put off balance. I have to close my eyes, in the hopes of willing the sudden sense of vertigo away, but when I open them... Oh god, I never thought it would actually literally bleed blood on the walls. I'm prophetic. Well, I don't feel any less sick because of the sight that greets me. Blood dripped from the walls and ceiling, pulling downwards and seeping into the curtains and the carpet. Manly Bass Hero proceeded to the save file to make a save, because he felt like some kind of form of danger was coming up soon. He clicked again to go to the next piece of dialogue, and then began reading it. A wave of nausea stronger than the last hits me along with the overpowering stench of blood and gore. After finishing the reading of the dialogue, Manly Bass Hero felt a little bit satisfied, but a little bit incomplete. Where was this going, he wondered. To continue, he read another piece of dialogue. I want to bolt. The rational part of my head is telling me to flee. After reading that piece of dialogue, Manly thinks, why is there blood on the walls? But then he realized nothing really matters anyway. And I've gladly done as it asked, if only I didn't hear her.
In here, Marianne. Come on. I have something to show you.
I could have ignored it. Would have ignored it. If I only heard it in my head. But I swear that this time, it's coming from one of the rooms. Much further in, into the study. And I feel compelled to pay attention. I can't just turn around and leave. Not when it's her. I don't even think as I follow the sound of her voice. Lorraine. Lovely Amanda Lorraine. Las Fair Fiona. I'm not sure if I did that right, but you know, try my best. She was my friend. The only one that I had at St. Savon. I was a scholar, a charity case, in a school for privileged and prestigious young girls. They all looked down at me. If they cared to look at me or acknowledge my presence at all. All except her.
Oh, stop your crying. You know better than to listen to Maeve. Why, I gotta teach that butterface a lesson.
Wait, no, lass! I don't want you getting into trouble with the sisters again!
Relax. It's not like I'm going to stomp her and her lackey's arses flat like last time.
Come on, let's just go back to our dorm room. I don't want to be on my Tobler while you go get yourself punished.
You'll be fine. Gip's there with you.
Lorraine was there when I needed her, through my highs and lows. Having her as a friend made being in a strange school away from my father all the more tolerable. She saw this poor helpless girl who was kept down and shunned by everyone else, and being the kind soul that she was, she rescued me. So brave, so beautiful. She was something else.
I'll eat all the chocolates stashed away in your closet if you go.
I can get more. Just don't go complaining to me if you get a tummy ache because of that.
Well, you don't want to get detention on a weekend, do you?
Are we really appropriate to be thinking about all this while the walls are literally bleeding blood?
It's a Friday. We can go to town and have some karaoke. And we can have a go at druids and demons again.
Yeah, see, the blood clearly makes me think of karaoke and druids and demons.
You're not going to miss that just because of Maeve, are you?
Reminds me of that time we painted the town red, you know, except it was figurative, not literal. Sometimes I question what I did to deserve a friend like her. In the darkest corners of my mind, where traitorous thoughts lurked, I thought that she only felt sorry for me. Maybe she was just being a good Samaritan, offering a helping hand. And perhaps I've been too selfish to return the favor.
You have a point. I'll just kick her arse on Monday then.
That's not what I mean!
I know what you mean, Em.
Wait, where are you going? You just told me you wouldn't cause trouble.
I still have something to do. Don't worry. It's not like I'm going to burn down her dorm room or something criminal like that. I'm just going to talk to her. Maybe I'll make it so that her room smells like a dog's air biscuit. That'll make it an excellent weekend. I'll see you in a bit, Marianne. Lots of tumblers!
Because when she told me that she loved me, I couldn't admit that I felt the same way. Not to her, and not even to myself. It was wrong. I was taught that way. Husband and wife, one man and woman. Unclean, impure. I paid for her and I, for her sins and for salvation. I wanted to apologize for disregarding her feelings so callously. It must have been like a slap to the face for her. But life had gone in the way. Exams, which were trivial in hindsight now, took top priority. I had to keep my grades up to keep my scholarship, for my father. I told myself I would apologize to her when those were over. I needed to focus first and not let anything distract me. It had been easy, when she avoided me like the plague. She was upset. I get that. Back to reality now, everything's bleeding. Well, it's kind of a subjective reality, I guess. I thought I had the time to make things right, but...
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead, assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
They told us that was an accident. That was the official statement. But I knew better. Oh, that's what the radio thing is about. She was dead because of me.
May have had a hook and I kicked the bucket, didn't she? Ding dong, the witch is dead!
Oh boy. You're gonna need to do this. She had, though she didn't say which, Lorraine.
But at least Maeve had the courage to admit how she felt about me.
I don't even know how long I've been stuck here in a trance. In the mirror, Lorraine smiles at me. She's as beautiful as I remember her. But then... Dang them. I feel a bile rise up on my throat as her clean image warps into how she looked like when they found her dead, lying on the cold hard ground. Good Saint Dimphna, great wonder work in every affliction of mind, body, and help me. I'm seeing things, hearing things. Am I going completely insane? Looking everywhere but at her. I hope and pray that's enough to will whatever this is to go away. It doesn't even immediately register in my head that I can just leave.
You, on the other hand, can't even look me in the eye.
Well, you kinda look a little bit dead there.
This isn't real. You're not. You're dead!
I'm dead. Because of you. And you won't even look at me. Look at me.
My breathing quickens, and I can feel my heart being torn apart by her words.
I'm so sorry, Lorraine.
Look at me!
I can't take it because she's right. It was my fault. The least I can do is look at what I've done. Lorraine, broken and bleeding, looks at me with such hate-filled eyes. An unnatural smile stretches across her face, and I can only see malice in it. What? Then she lunges at the mirror, ripples around her form as she's way too close, the glass parting like the water's surface for her. She grips my shoulders and I can feel her nails dig deep, sharp even though through the fabric of my clothes.
There you are.
I should have done this earlier.
You're coming with me.
No!
Why won't you love me?
Because you're bleeding out of the eyes and coming through a mirror. No. Apologies spill from my lips as tears cloud my vision. But I won't give in to this madness. Very bit of strength I have left. I struggle to get away from her. Fear grips and threatens to choke me. I endure. I escape. Without turning back, I stumble back out. In my panic, I don't even care to look where I'm going. With one hand on the wall to steady me, I just hobble as fast as I can away from the study. Away from that mirror. Freedom is bittersweet. I'm free from the madness, it seems, as running out into the hallway reveals it to be in pristine condition. For death. But it means I've turned my back on Lorraine. Again. I have no plans of stopping. Not until I know I'm safe. And if that means walking back to Luxborn, as ridiculous as the idea is, then so be it. Someone suddenly grabs hold of me, however. Fingers digging deep into my shoulder. My heart nearly stops. Luke. My body seizes and I nearly scream.
Marianne, you look awful. I mean, not awful, but... Did something happen? Are you alright?
This is right.
We gotta burn down this house right now. Let's see how the route's looking real quick. And we dodged a bullet there. Quite literally. Without thinking, I sought comfort, seeing that it wasn't her. It's a sudden impulsive thing to do. Had I been in a better condition, I wouldn't even dare of doing such a thing. But I didn't know what else to do. Though I know I shouldn't. Her warmth, her scent, they grounded me. She is intoxicating.
Marianne, what's going on? Oh, you're shaking like a leaf.
Tremors run through my body as soon as my mind realized I'm no longer in danger. We saw what happened to Zach a couple of times. I wanted to cry, scream about what I have seen, but like a scared child, I couldn't control myself. My mind couldn't reconcile with what I had seen. I should just write it off as a figment of my imagination, yet I can still feel her nails cutting into my skin.
Are you sick? Should I call for a doctor?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright. Just feeling a little woozy and lightheaded is all.
Let's get you somewhere to sit down then. Come on, don't worry, I have you.
A lie. But a whole lot less complicated than telling her I was attacked by a dead girl. When the feeling of fear eases off, I feel nothing but shame for my actions. I quickly back away as I clear my throat and I nod my thanks.
I think I've had enough looking around. If it's all right with you and Mr. Wright, I'll meet you outside.
If you're sure, I'll have the car started.
I also have a flamethrower and a priest with a lot of holy water.
Do you need assistance heading downstairs?
Can you arrange that for me?
I'm all right, ma'am. Just go on ahead and I'll be right there.
Maybe Bill Murray wouldn't hurt either. It seems to placate her worries, though only for a brief second. Before she heads down, I don't miss the concerned glance she shoots my way, hidden quickly under a nervous smile. I won't begrudge her for it. That worry. The look on my face must have been strange enough to sign on its own. Even I am still reeling from whatever that was. Her voice still whispers in my ears. After all these years, she's still... No, Marianne. Shaking my head at the thoughts, I drag in a breath and fall shortly after Mrs. Wright. Whatever has happened in the past, it's long gone. Only memories now. And those are things I can no longer bring back. Branching tree, branching tree. Do-do-do-do, branching tree. It's already dark as we make our way out of the mansion. With no lights, we are only illuminated by the headlamps of the Wright's car and the stars up above us. The sight of them helps me compose myself much more than several minutes of being alone did. The car's engine is running. The two still stand out on the lawn. Mrs. Wright is busy, eyes up to the stars. And Mr. Wright, arms crossed, has his eyes down on the ground. It is the crunch of the grass under my heels that brings her attention to me.
About time, what took you so long? A minute longer and I'd think the house swallowed you all up.
Oh, so true.
Oh, hush, dear. I'm sure she has her reasons. Marianne doesn't seem the sort to idle.
Sorry, I was just checking on something important.
See, business is business and they take time, love. You should know that better than anyone. So, Marianne, what do you think? Are you the woman for the job?
No, burn the house down.
I know we already signed papers.
That's what Manly Badger would like to say.
I want to be 100% sure that you are committed.
I glanced back towards the mansion, knowing what I had seen there, or ever who I thought I saw there, because there was just no way. Not to mention how I acted towards Miss Wright, for goodness sake. I should feel the slightest bit hesitant. I was lucky. I've seen enough films to know what happens when a promiscuous woman enters a haunted house. This is my chance to turn it down, make excuses, say I'm not up to the task, that I need to take care of my old, sick father. Just pay the fine, which is probably outrageous for a contract like this, and let it go. I should turn it down. But for some obstinate reason, I can't. The money. In the same manner I had to let go of her, of the regret that has shadowed me since that day. Much as I hate to admit, even to myself, seeing her again, mischievous glint in her eyes, the loose tendrils of her hair curled around her forehead. Loose tendrils? It's something I've terribly missed, and now that it's here, almost within this arm reach, my father would tell me, sometimes you just simply have to go through with it. Consequences be damned. And well, I really don't have any logical reason to say no. Ha! At least, that's something a client like the Wrights would want to hear from a professional designer.
It's certainly an interesting project. You can be sure I'm seeing it through the end.
Such dedication! Oh, I do love the determination.
You were always determined like that, weren't you?
Be quiet, Jiminy Crickets. Hearing her voice once again sends a chill running down my back. I can't wait for this day to be over.